ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ ප්‍රථම වරට SLT 4G වෙතින් දැන් Pure TV නරඹන්න. ඉදිරියටම ගෙන යන SLT 4G.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, crippling virus. Sri Lanka's COVID-19 infections reach 70, while Italy takes top spot in deaths. Commander's assurance. Army commander promises that Sri Lanka will win the battle against COVID-19.
Those who came from abroad, please be disciplined because you must ensure that your family is protected.
The commander also has a message to the people.
Be strong, we will never lose, we are not losers, we will win.
Trading interruption. Colombo Stock Exchange forced to halt trading yet again. All that and much more coming up on First at 9, this Friday the 20th of March 2020.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9.
ඔය 69යි 97ට SMS කර රුපියල් මිලියන 3ක මුල්තැන්ගේ උපකරණ දිනාගෙන අවුරුද්දෙම කුස්සිය ටයිම් සේව් කරගන්න.
Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhammike Kanayaka. Now the government continues to ramp up measures in order to curb the spread of coronavirus COVID-19 as it imposed an island-wide curfew from 6 p.m. today, which will last until 6 a.m. on Monday the 23rd. Meanwhile, the number of COVID-19 cases in the country climbed to 70 today, with 11 fresh cases of infections being reported. Sri Lanka reached 70 in just less than 2 weeks after the first local patient was detected. Now, in the meantime, 113 Sri Lankan pilgrims who arrived in the country from India were directed to quarantine facilities from the airport. Also doing their part, the Sri Lankan Navy took 20 persons into custody off the Kochikade and Putlam coast for venturing out to sea during curfew hours.
Health authorities in the country now place the total number of people infected by the novel coronavirus at 70, with there being 11 more additions to yesterday's tally. At present, 218 people who are suspected of having contracted the coronavirus COVID-19 are under medical observation at a number of hospitals across the island. According to a report released by the epidemiology unit this morning, 18 people have been diagnosed from the Gampaha district and 17 from Colombo. 12 confirmed cases have now been confirmed from the Putlam district. Districts of Kurunegala and Kalutara have confirmed 4 cases each, while 3 more infections were found from the Ratnapura district. 1 patient each was reported from Gaul, K-Gaul, Matara, Batiklo and Badulla districts. 2 foreigners, meanwhile, are also among the infected. Data shows that 45% of the COVID-19 diagnosed are aged between 41 and 50. According to the epidemiology unit, 81% of COVID-19 patients detected in Sri Lanka are men, and women representation in this category is reported as 19%. As a measure to prevent the spread of the virus, an island-wide curfew was imposed from 6 p.m. today until 6 a.m. on Monday the 23rd. All citizens must remain in their houses during the curfew period. However, movement has been permitted only for people involved in essential services and media personnel. They can use the identity card issued by the relevant institutions as a form of license. People travelling to the Bandaranaike International Airport can gain passage by showing their air ticket and passport. Meanwhile, the Presidential Media Unit announced the government's decision to ban all manner of tours and pilgrimages with immediate effect. The government also urges the public to maintain a distance of at least 1 meter in public places in order to prevent themselves coming into contact with a possible carrier of the contagion COVID-19. It also says that half the full capacity of passenger buses and trains should be the permitted maximum. With curfew being imposed island-wide, the railway control room suspended all train services from 3:30 p.m. onwards. All expressways are closed until further notice. However, Minister of Highways Johnson Fernando says that one entrance of expressways will be open for people with curfew permits. Meanwhile, all postal operations are suspended until further notice. Accordingly, parcels and postal goods received from overseas will be retained at the Central Mail Exchange and will be redistributed once the country's situation improves. The Department of Posts informs that the prevailing situation has contributed to the suspension of payments of elderly and sick persons. In the meantime, with the number of infected cases reportedly hiking at quarantine centres, Base Hospital in Valikanda was transformed into a special facility to treat COVID-19 patients. Operations of the hospital, which was modernized in 72 hours, was handed over to the hospital's medical unit by army personnel. 2,463 people are now being sheltered at 17 quarantine centres, and the army is providing them with all necessary facilities. Meanwhile, Hatton District Judge has ordered 76 persons who arrived from a number of countries, including the Middle East, to self-quarantine themselves. The court delivered the order under the Quarantine and Disease Prevention Ordinance No. 12 of 1952, as they did not comply with the orders of the Public Health Inspector after being identified as arrivals in the country a few days ago. Meanwhile, Office of the Regional Medical Officer in Valimada has taken steps to disinfect the area following a 28-year-old area resident being infected with COVID-19. Members of his family were also taken under quarantine along with officers of the Samurdhi Bank in the area, as the patient had visited the bank. With the individual being an employee of a hotel in the area of Bandaravela, the health department today announced the closure of all shops in the area over fears of the virus's spread. Steps were also taken to disinfect the Bandaravela town. Meanwhile, a resident of Jayala was admitted to the Ragama Teaching Hospital with chest pains. Doctors tested him for the deadly coronavirus as he showed symptoms. The patient tested positive for COVID-19 and he was identified as a recent arrival from Italy. The hospital staff who came into contact with the patient in question was also sent for quarantine. Meanwhile, a returnee from Italy was arrested and remanded in connection with a traffic-related incident which occurred in Mundalama on the 8th of this month. After being released on bail 2 days later, the man was hospitalized with symptoms of the coronavirus COVID-19. Preliminary tests confirmed that he was infected with COVID-19 and as a result, the OIC and the officers of the Mundalama police station were quarantined. The prison as well as court premises were disinfected today. Meanwhile, a group of people from Veheragala in Bandaravela are stranded in India after they went on a pilgrimage to Dambadiva on the 5th of March. Issuing a communique, the Sri Lankan High Commission assured that arrangements are being made to bring the Sri Lankan pilgrims from India.
කොරෝනා වෛරසය පැතිරීම වළක්වන්න සබන් යොදා දෑත් සෝදන්න.
Now, China may have arrested the spread of COVID-19 almost 4 months after the outbreak was first reported in the city of Wuhan. But the rest of the world, especially Europe, is reeling from the effects of the virus. Italy was catching up with China's death toll fast, and now it has finally surpassed the overall death toll of the Asian superpower. What's more, 4 countries of the top 5 most affected nations from the rapidly spreading virus are European countries. Spain among them is a great concern as the country's number of fatalities breached 1,000. The Indonesian capital Jakarta, meanwhile, declared a state of emergency for 2 weeks, or for the next 2 weeks rather, over the coronavirus outbreak as the death toll in the country climbed to 32, which is the highest in Southeast Asia.
Europe continues to suffer from the grip of the coronavirus COVID-19 as Italy passed the death toll of China. China's death toll stands at 3,248 and with 427 overnights, Italy's overall COVID-19 fatalities stand at 3,405. The major factor behind the increase in the number of deaths in Italy is the higher number of its elderly population, as they are the most susceptible to the virus. With that being the case, the Italian government is considering more tough measures in order to control the situation, since the numbers of infections are on the rise. In Spain, meanwhile, more than 300 new deaths were reported, taking the country's overall tally to 1,002. The country's total number of positive infections also rose to 19,980. Following the outbreak, the Spanish Emergency Military Unit disinfected the El Prat airport in Barcelona as a measure to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Furthermore, health authorities carried drive-through tests to diagnose the virus outside hospitals in order to prevent spreading. In the meantime, France is third on the list of most affected countries in Europe, with a death toll of 372, accompanied by 10,995 confirmed cases of infections. It was also significant that the European Union's chief negotiator for Brexit, Michel Barnier, is also diagnosed with the novel coronavirus. In the meantime, Prince Albert, the ruler of Monaco, which is located below France, has also tested positive for COVID-19. In the meantime, Prince Albert, the ruler of Monaco, which is located below France, has also tested positive for COVID-19. Looking at the situation in Americas, the US is the highly affected nation, as the world's largest economy reported 67 overnight deaths, increasing the overall number of COVID-19 fatalities to 217. With the ongoing outbreak in the country, California Governor Gavin Newsom issued a statewide stay-at-home order directing residents to leave their homes only when necessary in order to curb the spread of the virus. He further said that research has shown that 56% of California residents were expected to contract COVID-19 over the next 8 weeks, requiring nearly 20,000 more hospital beds than the state could currently provide. US researchers, following the lead of scientists in other countries, meanwhile, have launched studies to see whether widely available low-cost generic drugs can be used to help treat the illness caused by the new coronavirus. In the Middle East, Iran, who shares borders with Pakistan, Afghanistan and Iraq, confirmed 149 more fatalities, raising their death toll to 1,433. The Islamic Republic is the worst affected nation in the Middle East region from the novel coronavirus. As at 5:50 p.m. Sri Lankan time, the novel coronavirus had spread to 182 countries, recording 10,406 fatalities and 253,791 cases of positive infections. In the meantime, in Asia, China is continuing to show positive signs as cases of domestic transmission remain zero for the second consecutive day. Furthermore, 71,150 people out of the 80,967 positive infections have recovered from the deadly virus. South Korea confirmed 87 overnight cases of infections, bringing the total infected up to 8,652. The country's new deaths, however, remain in single digits, with the number of overnight fatalities being 3. When looking at India, the world's second largest population, it recorded 223 cases of infections. The country has recorded 5 deaths so far.
Sri Lanka's army commander is adamant that Sri Lanka can fight and win the battle against COVID-19. We'll bring you what he had to say after this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You are watching First at 9. Now, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa today urged the public to take well-thought-out decisions amidst the global COVID-19 pandemic, while reassuring that the government has taken necessary measures to face any crisis situation. In a special statement, the Premier also requested the public to adhere to medical and government advice in order to rid the country of the virus.
මා ඔබ අපතන මේ මොහොතේ රටටම ඇඳිරි නීතිය පනවලා තියෙනවා. ලෝකයේ දරුණුම ත්‍රස්තවාදයට එරෙහිව කටයුතු කරන වකවානුවේවත් අපිට එකවර රටටම බලපාන ආකාරයට ඇඳිරි නීතිය පනවන්න උවමනා වුණේ නැහැ. නමුත් කිහිප දෙනෙකුගේ වගකීමෙන් තොර ක්‍රියාකලාපය නිසා අද අපිට මේ පියවර ගන්නම සිදු වෙලා තියෙනවා. මේ මොහොතේ අපි මේ ක්‍රියාමාර්ගය අරගෙන තියෙන්නේ ඔබගේ දරුවන්ගේ ජීවිත ආරක්ෂාව වෙනුවෙන්. යම් දුෂ්කරතාවයක් ඇති වෙනවා නම් අපි ඒ පිළිබඳ කනගාටු වෙනවා. ඒ වගේම ඔබගේ දෛනික ජීවිතයට උවමනා සියල්ල සම්පාදනය කරන්න අපට පුළුවන්. ඖෂධ, ආහාර පාන, ඉන්ධන මාස ගණනාවකට අවශ්‍ය ප්‍රමාණ අපි සම්පාදනය කරගෙන තියෙනවා. අනවශ්‍ය කලබලයක් ඇති කරගන්න උවමනා නැහැ. අප රජය කිසිවක් ජනතාවට හංගන්නේ නැහැ. රෝගීන් ගැන, රෝගයේ ස්වරූපය ගැන තොරතුරු ඉතා ඉක්මනින් ජනතාව වෙත ලබා දෙන්නේ අප සියලු දෙනාගේ ආරක්ෂාව සඳහායි. ලෝකයේම ඉතාම දුෂ්කර තත්ත්වයකට මුහුණ දී තිබෙන මේ මොහොතේ ඉතාම කල්පනාකාරීව දුරදිග බලා කටයුතු කරන්න කියාමා ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා. වෛද්‍යවරු දෙන උපදෙස්, රජය දෙන උපදෙස් නිසි ආකාරයට ඔබ අනුගමනය කළොත් අපිට ඉතාම ඉක්මනින් මේ වසංගතයෙන් ගැලවෙන්න පුළුවන් බව මට විශ්වාසයි. අපි ජාතියක් වශයෙන් මේ විපත්ති අවස්ථාවයකට සිටිමු. අප මීට වඩා අභියෝග ජයගත් ජාතියක්. ඔබට අපට ඒකට එක්වී මේ විපතින් ගැලවීමට ශක්තිය තිබෙන බව මට විශ්වාසයි.
Now, Commander of the Sri Lanka Army, Lieutenant General Shavendra Silva, meanwhile expresses his confidence over Sri Lanka's capacity as a country to beat the COVID-19 outbreak. Speaking to Indiva Riyamuwatha on our current affairs program at Hyde Park, the commander also cautioned those arriving from overseas to be more responsible and disciplined as the safety of others, including that of their very families, depend on it. He also reassured that those currently under quarantine at army-run facilities are given the best care possible.
You did mention that this particular curfew is actually very special in its own sense. It has some very special characteristics.
The curfew was not brought to the entire island today just like that. As you know, that 2 days back, a curfew was enforced in areas of Puttalam district. That is because after 10th, when we started this quarantine centers, identifying 3 countries initially, and thereafter it had gone to many countries later on, and by 15th we found that there are certain countries and there are passengers who came to Sri Lanka between the 1st and 9th. There's a fair number of people. And also we found other than these quarantine centers, we found that certain cases reported from the people who arrived in Sri Lanka between the 1st and 9th. The government of Sri Lanka urged from the public to get registered or give information to the government through police stations, those who travel to Sri Lanka, and they urge the people to be at least house quarantine, self-quarantine. So this message was passed. This message passed for 2-3 days we were following. We had all the details of people who came and we were monitoring by the army, police, by the intelligence services. First person found with corona in Sri Lanka outside was a tour guide. So tour guide, when we inquired into his whatever he did, we found that he had 64 connected people.
Right.
Okay. So we went to the 64 because we were so, our intelligence services are so good, you see. We found and we told them, okay, there's a case like this, you may get this, therefore be careful, be quarantined. Very disciplined in a way they did that. They didn't go out, mix around with people. But we have cases. One of the gentlemen who came from abroad, when he was asked to quarantine, he was going around and the intelligence, the police had to go behind him. Then he suddenly got admitted in a hospital and then found that his wife got corona, she got infected in this. So some are not disciplined. When the government has told not to move out, they were going out. Because of that, Puttalam district was enforced curfew. We found that more than 800 came from abroad during the 1st to 15th. They are from that area. So they were asked to do that. Then day before yesterday we brought yesterday we brought Vattal also included, because we found that in Vattal also there are people, we have information to say that they are moving around, they are not getting self-quarantine at home, they are moving around. So the government can tell, they should take the responsibility. But government is responsible at the end of the day to make sure that this will not spread. Okay. So by today, since this is going like this, so the best thing is, this is the weekend. So the government decided today, yes, from 20th today, the Friday, till Monday the 23rd at 6 a.m. we will have, according to the quarantine law, we will have a curfew. The difference is that we have told certain establishment organizations will have to run. Okay, the essential services will have to go. Even essential services we have not, at times we are not given, but certain things, even you see the Satosa like main stores, then the other shops, then all the food cities, I mean supermarkets, things like that, they'll have to get the stuff by Monday morning because people would have taken between the time that we announced and till 6 p.m. people have gone and taken stuff. So this has to be filled and all that. Those things have to be run. Then the other things like other sheds, petroleum, electricity, water. So these things will have to run. We can't, because of curfew, they can't stop that. So therefore, we have given the flexibility. Then the people who are departing from Sri Lanka to the airport from Sri Lanka, so they also have to have the type of movement. But only thing, the difference is, those days we used to tell police cop, you say you have to go to get the police pass, it's a must, without police pass you can't move around. Here the IGP has already instructed all police stations, provided that a person show the identity card and show exactly where they are going. I mean, if they are going for essential service or for some requirement, they will be allowed. But mainly, this is basically a discipline to ensure that the country, the people are protected. For that reason, we have, I think, enforced the curfew by the government.
You fought a humanitarian mission. You oversaw it together with our war heroes, our military, Triforces, police. Now this is yet another case where a humanitarian need has come forward. We say self-quarantine. Quarantine centers. This is the land of the brave. We'll talk about how we're going to beat this virus, how we're going to overcome this risk at this point that Sri Lanka is facing.
So of course, as you very correctly mentioned, we did a humanitarian operation and we managed to bring peace to the country. Of course, some people wouldn't have seen as a humanitarian operation. We will never get discouraged. We are military people. We will feel, but will not get discouraged. We are human beings. We will feel for what we have done. I have not gone to protect my father's property, neither my relations' property. I had done my job for the sake of my people and for the country. This is another huge humanitarian operation. You know that we have a huge, great health care system in Sri Lanka. It's not today. We are known for literacy rate for men and women. With all top countries, developed countries, we know where we stand. So like that, you know, so that is why when certain countries are struggling, because we have a system from top to bottom, even to village level. Think about the duties that have been done by the PHI, MOH, and the Director General Health Services, DDHSs, all of them. We have a very solid system. Mortality rate, you see about Sri Lanka, how we are doing well. So all that is because we have a great health services in Sri Lanka. So now what Army is doing is, you know that we are trained, we are disciplined, we are 24/7. So we can afford to run because we are trained for that. The government has given the responsibility to us, especially to maintain the quarantine centers. Yes, we will do that, bring any amount. We, the military, the government of Sri Lanka, from the President to the Prime Minister down to the last citizen, everybody is trying to do everything possible. Around the clock they are working for one particular aim, to ensure that we will eradicate COVID-19 from Sri Lanka. That's our task, all of us are doing. So our message to the people of Sri Lanka, those who came from abroad, please try to be self-quarantined, be disciplined. Because you must ensure that your family is protected. Ensure that you won't move out. Give the details if you have gone, even still not late. Be strong, we will never lose. We are a country, we will never lose. We are not losers, we will win, provided that our people will cooperate.
Now, Cabinet co-spokesperson Bandula Gunawardena insists that the curfew put in place across the island will not hinder any essential services, while reassuring the public that there will be no shortage of food or any other goods. His comments came during a media briefing worked off at the Government Information Department. The Cabinet co-spokesperson went on to urge the people to self-quarantine during the curfew, which will extend across the weekend.
නීතිය අත්‍යවශ්‍ය සේවා සඳහා පවත්වාගෙන යාමට බාධාවක් නොවන ආකාරයට තමයි ඇඳිරි නීතිය පනවලා තිබෙන්නේ. විශේෂයෙන් සෞඛ්‍ය අංශය, ආරක්ෂක සේවා අංශ, පුද්ගලික ආරක්ෂක සේවාවන්, වරාය, අත්‍යවශ්‍ය රාජ්‍ය සේවා සපයන රාජ්‍ය ආයතන යනාදිය සඳහා මේ ඇඳිරි නීතිය තුලින් බාධාවක් ඇති වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ පිළිබඳ පොලිස්පතිතුමා විසින් යම්කිසි අත්‍යවශ්‍ය සේවාවක් හෝ අත්‍යවශ්‍ය කරුණක් සඳහා පොලිසියට ගොස් බලපත්‍ර ලබා ගැනීම පිළිබඳ නිවේදන දවල්වරුවේදී නිකුත් කරනවා ඇති. දැනට උදෑසන සඳහන් කළ යුතු වෙන්නේ සතියන්තයේ ඇඳිරි නීතියක් වශයෙන් ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙන නිසා නිවෙස් වලින් බැහැරව නොගොස් තමන්ගේ නිවෙස් වල සිට නිරෝධායන ක්‍රියාවලියට ස්වයංක්‍රීයව දායක වෙන ලෙස තමයි අපිට ජනතාවගෙන් ඉල්ලා සිටින්න තිබෙන්නේ. අත්‍යවශ්‍ය භාණ්ඩ ලබා ගැනීම පිළිබඳ ගැටලුවක් නැහැ. පිටකොටුවේ තොග වෙළඳපොළ අද පස්වරු 2 වෙනකම් පැවැත්වෙනවා. පස්වරු 2කින් පසු පිටකොටුවේ තොග වෙළඳපොළ අවට ප්‍රදේශයේ නිරෝධායනය කිරීම සඳහා විශේෂ වැඩපිළිවෙලක් හමුදාපතිතුමා විසින් මෙහියුම් කාර්යාංශය විසින් සකස් කරනවා. ඊට පස්සේ සතියන්තේ හරුණාම සඳා උදේ පාන්දර 6ට නැවත පිටකොටුවේ තොග වෙළඳපොළ විවෘත වෙනවා. ඒ නිසා ආහාර ද්‍රව්‍ය පිළිබඳ කිසිම හිගතාවයක් ඇති වෙන්නේ නැහැ. අග්‍රාමාත්‍යතුමා මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ මැතිතුමා මුදල් අමාත්‍යාංශයට උපදෙස් දීලා ඒ අනුව ගැසට් නිවේදන නිකුත් කරලා තිබෙනවා. කොරෝනා පැතිරීම වැළැක්වීම හා ඒ හා සම්බන්ධිත කවර නිෂ්පාදනයක් කළත් ඒ කරන්නේ කුමන ආයතනයක් වුවත් ඒ සෑම ආයතනයකටම සියලුම බදු වලින් නිදහස් පැකේජයක් ලබා දී තිබෙනවා.
We'll see you again soon after this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. This is First at 9. And our currency swap spreads, which have jumped amid a scramble for dollar funding by banks and companies, eased today after global central banks agreed to increase the frequency of their one-week US dollar credit facility. A blowout in the spread of these money market instruments this week has sent the dollar surging and prompted central banks to cut interest rates and inject billions of dollars into markets. Some of those pressures seem to be receding, with swap spreads for the most liquid instruments in euro-dollar and dollar-yen tightening sharply. Euro-dollar 3-month swap narrowed sharply from their widest levels since early 2011, which was the height of the eurozone debt crisis. Asian markets showed signs of bouncing back, marking the end of a trying week. In South Korea, stocks opened higher, with the Korea Composite Stock Price Index up 39.1 points to 1,496.74 points. Hong Kong markets opened in the green, returning about 22,000 point mark as news of 0 locally transmitted cases were reported in China for the second day in a row. The Hang Seng Index began trading at 22,147 points, up 438 points. Yesterday, stocks in China closed lower, with Shanghai Composite Index down 1% to 2,702.13 points, although expectations of additional stimulus to tackle the effects of the coronavirus curbed losses. Now, as Bourse reopened after a 4-day holiday, Colombo stocks ended in the red zone today, with the all-share price index closing 6.22% weaker, while the S&P index ended 11.72% down. Regular market trading at the stock exchange was temporarily halted for 30 minutes between 2:10 and 10 this morning, as the liquid S&P SL20 index slumped 5% during the trading session. Turnover of 420.76 million rupees was generated during today's trading. The board of directors of the CSE decided to hold trading today at noon in view of the curfew imposed by the government. Meanwhile, in the currency market, the Sri Lankan rupee hit a further low today, depreciating to 189.87 against the US dollar. The buying rate was at 185 rupees and 38 cents, with the selling rate at 189 rupees and 87 cents. Yesterday, the Central Bank of Sri Lanka introduced urgent measures to ease the pressure on the exchange rate and prevent financial market panic due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Accordingly, licensed commercial banks and National Savings Bank were directed to suspend facilitating importation of all types of motor vehicles, the import of non-essential goods, and the purchase of sovereign bonds by licensed banks in Sri Lanka. The central bank said it will continue to monitor market developments and take further measures as required, while ensuring adequate liquidity in the market in order to facilitate smooth operations and sustain market confidence amidst the COVID-19 outbreak. Now, India hanged 4 men today who were convicted for the rape and murder of a young woman in a bus in New Delhi in 2012. The case shocked the world and shamed the country over its appalling record for crimes against women. The men were executed at dawn in their jail on the outskirts of the capital. Hundreds of police were deployed outside the jail to control a crowd that waited to celebrate the execution of the men for the attack that shone a spotlight on women's safety across India. Some held placards that read "Justice for Women" and "Hang the culprits." The crime sparked massive protests and global outrage. The victim was dubbed Nirbhaya, the fearless one, by the Indian press, as she could not be named under Indian law. 6 men were arrested for the brutal attack. One suspect was found dead in his jail cell in March 2013, having apparently taken his own life. Another, who was aged 17 at the time, was released in 2015 after serving 3 years in a reform facility, which is the maximum term possible for a juvenile in India. The 4 hanged today were a gym instructor, the bus cleaner, a fruit seller and an unemployed man, who were all sentenced to death by a fast-track court in 2013. Now, French President Emmanuel Macron is leading a push for the European Union to acquire more powers to respond in healthcare emergencies, whilst being conscious that the EU risks being blamed for the continent's shortcomings in tackling the coronavirus outbreak. In a video conference with EU leaders last week, the first time all 27 have held crisis talks remotely, Macron stressed, or more like pressed, the need for Europe's institutions to have broader powers in several areas, including health, traditionally a national responsibility. One proposal is for the creation of a scientific panel to provide unified pan-EU recommendations to member states in health crisis. Macron is also pushing for more fiscal solidarity and for the EU to be able to raise debt, something long resisted by fiscal conservative countries like Germany. Now, Spain's La Liga president Javier Tebas says Europe's top leagues and competitions are planning to resume in mid-May following Euro 2020's postponement. The coronavirus pandemic has led to the suspension of all club football. The European Championships move to next summer means there is more time to complete domestic league seasons. Tebas said there are 30 affected leagues, 30 cup tournaments, and they have to coordinate each schedule at both a national and international level. Yesterday, English and Scottish football extended their suspensions until the 30th of April. The Football Association said the current season can be extended indefinitely. And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.